Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming. We're covering Season 47, 5 versus 5 Grand Arena Championship Week 2. I am here with my co-hosts Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for making the time once again to be here. We're hours after the conclusion of Week 2. I myself had a blast. How about you guys? Anyone, feel free to jump in first.
A lot of fun. Yeah, it honestly feels like GAC and Swagga generally very much alive and well and thriving. So it was good. And by the way, you can take from that tone, I did not get hard stopped on fleets at all this week because that's the one
Fantastic.
thing that always rains on my parade. How about you, TJ Dagger? How about you guys? How you feeling?
Sasha's a bully. I'm just calling it out. I continue to make my own poopies all over my own GAC. I am the consumer of kicking my own ass. I say that in jest just because Sasha and I got the face for the round 3. And we did it live, as they would say. And I did such a great job of ruining my own GAC. Sasha just kind of watched on and just gave me the noose, and I just wrecked myself. It was good. So 1 and 2, but I'm all right with it. It was like I said, you can't lose to a nicer guy, but he's still an asshole, and his datacrons still suck. And the proverbial not cool for me, awesome for him.
That's right. It's enough that he kicked the shit out of you. You don't have to thank him for the experience, and that's fair.
Oh no, man, that was so gracious.
That's completely fair. What's good, Dagger? Got to hit that mute off.
Yes. Went 3-0. Climbing back out of the dregs of Kyber 1, back in the top 100.
Very nice.
Holiday week, so very busy. Can't guarantee silence, which is why I've been on mute in between.
Very good. Yep. And this will be reflected in the recording date on the video. But yeah, this is the week of November 20th. We've got Thanksgiving in America here on Thursday, so busy week, but pretty easy street for yours truly here. I have the entire week off, so I'll be enjoying that. And that's why I was able to stream. I went 3-0 this week as well. It was a very challenging bracket, and what's really important for me personally is that I'm 5-1 on the season, and my one loss was week 1, round 1 versus KP67. And, I couldn't clear his Leia in the back. I made a fool of myself taking an option I knew I could execute up front, and I left myself improperly prepared, and I did things in the wrong order in the back. I compounded my errors. So I wanted to avenge myself, and avenge myself I did. Not only did I have a flawless clear there for an 18-20, but he got absolutely jammed up on Leia up front, so that sealed the deal. Great feeling going into week 3. The bad news is I'm definitely in the top 2 brackets, and there's neither of those is a great place to be when I know that virtually everyone surrounding me is going to have many, many more set 12 crons. So I know we'll go ahead and talk about that when we move on to the later section about talking about what we're thinking about next week, because we should definitely give some commentary to that. It is definitely a significant factor where we're at. But let's jump into segment 1 here. So what worked this week? Let's go ahead and start back here with Sasha. What stood out for you? What worked that you really needed to work? What was a punch up? What sticks in your mind?
I look at my week. I would say I'll say this because it's kind of like on a parting note form was Qui-Gon Jinn ended up being like a good get out of jail card for me in a couple of my earlier matches.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to miss the juiced up Datacron from set 10 when that leaves, because it's actually been such a nice sort of break glass non-GL super counter
For sure.
that I will miss that. So that's one that worked. The other thing that worked, and this will tie into a later segment on what didn't work this week, but I had a few times with my defense where I tried to get creative and find other applications for Malicos. And so I had seer squads loaded with UFUs, but not the A++ game loaded with Malicos and everything else. But so just ATF and that ATF Datacron under seer without Malicos just seems ripe for underestimation, and it did really well. So that squad was one I just continued to be really impressed with, and it left me like, again, coming back to a segment later, it left me like feeling okay shopping for other homes for Malicos. A bit of a spoiler. I don't know that he really did much great for me elsewhere, but I was super impressed with what Fear was able to do there. And then the last thing that I'll add was Inquisitors on offense, their versatility. I know it's not a surprise. We're pretty well into the season, and particularly having a Leia squad that has so much debuff cleansing on it. You just Inquisitors under Reva being able to be potentially really effective in the Leia, maybe even if one shot, but most likely in a cleanup. Their ability to do a number of other things, including I had one tough match where an opponent set I think 6 GLs, and it has a Slacker squad in the back with like a 400% roughly defense datacron plus the 5% UFU stacking. And I'm like, well, it's going to be incredibly hard to get through. Surprisingly, like a Reva Inquisitor scheme is able to do it. Just, they do such a nice job of melting away the rest of that first order squad, and that eventually you're able to stack up a few armor shreds on Slacker and work them down. So Reva on offense ended up just being such a nice have for me there. So those would be the three things.
Great. I mean, I'm gonna end up echoing you when we circle here to me. But TJ, what worked well for you this week?
We're gonna go with all the things that you would think would work would be fine. I am much more big in the what didn't work this week with the 1 and 2 and knew I was facing, and that's okay. Strategy needed to play the strategy game, so with that comes sacrifices that have to be made for the overall larger picture.
One does what one must. Yes.
Yep, and it's like writing chapters in the book. So everything that you would think was gonna work was gonna work. Some tricky setups, a la Sasha, Mr. Fuckhead. Nice guy though. Nice guy you'll meet, right? But trick setups and things like that really caught me off guard. So that's where it's like a lot of good things to learn from the losses that were like, I didn't even think about that. So I'll leave it with that.
Very good. Yeah.
I had one thing in that I think I learned from TJ that TJ did that I thought was really sharp.
Please.
Was on fleets. People so consistently set at this point, at least, I'm starting to see it fairly reliably. The Leviathan, the Grievous, and the triple attacker, and that's kind of what I had gotten comfortable with. And as you guys know, or most people in the game who know me, I am very much a fleet laggard, and so I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm just going to master being able to play that game and be able to respond to it. I thought DJ did a brilliant job of setting me up when we matched because he swapped up the fleet, put Profundity in there, and I was sort of left blinking at my screen for a little bit, going like, "Fuck! I spent all this time trying to get good at that damn Levi counter, and now what the hell am I going to do?" So anyway, kudos on that, DJ.
Just fantastic. All right. Well, did you have anything else to add? TJ.
Oh, for me, no, man, we're good. Yeah, it's like I said, the what didn't work has purpose, right? It's you take these, and we've talked about it before, and we'll go back into the next section. But
For sure.
that's just that whole setup, right? It's like there's a lot to speak on what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. And
Yeah,
how it
that's
catches you off
usually one
guard.
of our longer segments, and I mean,
Yep.
like lessons learned is I think what a
Yeah.
lot of people would be looking for here. So no wonder. But Dagger, how about you? What worked for you this week? What bailed you out? What punched up?
So I had a couple of interesting fights, I guess. Ewok Mirror was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily recommend that at home. Right, that might fall into the the WWE thing where it's like, do not try these moves at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think pretty much. I'm usually pretty boring in this segment because I tend to overkill stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I like TJ. Usually have less to say until the takeaways. So I'll just say that.
All right. Just looking at mine then. For what worked for me, none of. Let me check here. Round one, nothing too crazy. I mean, I'm getting more comfortable with that JML thing with the turn meter level 6, and that's just been really comfortable as I've gotten used to it. What else? Yeah, so when you're looking at these saw crons, Phoenix seems to handle that pretty readily. Not necessarily saw cron, I mean saw teams with a rebel cron that's with or without wedge. So I think that's worth pointing out.
With Rex in there, with Captain Rex, or no?
Yes, in Phoenix. I've never dared to run Phoenix on offense without Captain Rex. So for better
Oh,
or
I mean
worse.
on the Saw Squad. If the
On Saw,
team
no,
runs
I
it,
haven't encountered that. No,
Yeah.
not with Wedge and Captain Rex. No.
Yeah.
So good point. I mean, the Saw with Captain Rex was much more commonplace last season, and I feel like people are more or less wisely dividing their resources to have Captain Rex with Phoenix here. The other thing that we were talking about here before we in the pre-stream or in the pre-recording time here was I saw some win rate here in my match just today against KP for Ewoks. So he has a 290 Paplu, and it ended up working out that my Gideon plus 20 from Veer's lead, Imperial Troopers, would have been 1 too slow compared to his Paplu. And it just so happened that I had a kind soul in the chat remind me of the existence of the Prod Up Level 3 Set 11 Cron. And that 10% turn meter made all the difference because that enabled Veer's Dark Piet, Gideon, and Stark to very efficiently, like 64 banners, deal with that team. And that's with the Nisacron, so there was all this revive. It was 255+% defense, so that's why we had the benefit of both armor shred from Gideon and defense down from Stark. We decided to leave range by the wayside to afford ourselves that option. It was amazing. I was really impressed with it. So that was really cool. I got to do that. Tarful, Zalbar, Veteran Chewie, Clone Wars Chewie, and Nest. It was set up to be impedant of Bad Batch. And I had Bounty Hunters, and I haven't really been using Bounty Hunters, save for counters. Went in with Boss, Grief, Mando, Zam, and Fennec. 64 banners. Is there anyone else that jumped out? Ooh! A unique composition. Ooh, yeah, 2 more teams to highlight. Rex, ARC Trooper, Echo 5s, and Krex was a team that I saw. And I just copycatted a previous opponent of KP's here. It was Tusken Chieftain, Tusken Warrior, Tusken Raider, and Zaris for 60 banners. So you do lose your 5 there. But that 60 felt very safe. I don't know that you'll see that because too often going forward because we're about to lose the Krexcron. But that's a novel composition. Haven't seen it, and KP said it specifically because He knew if I went and looked that shit up, because of course I'm going to go look that shit up, but there was almost nothing on it because no one's doing that. So, it doesn't help me a lot. So it was a smart play on his part. And I lost 5 banners for the trouble, which is, all right, fair. But the other one I wanted to highlight was C. Treya Nihilus, Talon, and Savage. He set that against me, and I had to do C Mirror. At this point in the fight, that C was on the back wall. And I did not have... It was like 155% defense, something like that on his Krun. And of course you have stacking offense on that team. He had an offense modded Talon. It's a very dangerous team. And I only had something like 46% defense on the Kron that I had available for the purpose. So I took the gamble on something that I don't believe I've tried before. It was C-Watt. I've done C-Watt plus 3 Sith before. What I haven't done is C-Watt armor plus 1 Sith plus Gam. And it was Set was the other Sith. So the idea was, of course, we're having tank tech on C, and if Gam got beat down such that we got 3 stacks of Beskar onto C, great, that was fine. But we ended up having, Nihilus set our turn, our cooldowns back 1 for Armor's first turn. So by the time her second turn became available, we were completely grateful to take the money and run with 2 stacks of Beskar. And we weren't able to fully deplete C's protection. He only had two little bars left when I deemed it appropriate to switch off him to start deleting sides and working people off. Because the moment that I transformed C into his ultimate form, he was the only guy on deck. And with the way that Talon was hitting later in that fight, had I not had Beskar there, definite drop. Not that it mattered, because I definitely had the opportunity to clean up that fight and I would have won it decisively. But as far as reading into that fight that I'm having to punch up where they have the advantage of defense and they have stacking offense with Savage, that the addition of armor was just critical there. And I just wanted to point that out. I fought a JML, and yeah, Inquisitors just destroyed that. That's about it for me on that section. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Where we're going to spend a lot of time here is what didn't work, what left us alone in the dark, where did we drop, where did we fail. I'll go first because I swept the week 3-0, so as far as looking at drops goes, I had a Lord Vader fight. Lord Vader, Maul, ISC, Gar, Canderous, so it was Lord Vader with Mandos. The Mandos were no threat to me. I ended up... let me see. What were my comments there? I just timed out on Lord Vader alone. I know Dagger was watching that stream. I kind of just, you know what it was? Is that I misplayed by keeping Watt alive. The act of needing to target an ally with Watt, if they have a debuff, to be able to dispel it with a basic or whatever, that takes time, man. And you don't have that kind of time towards the end. If you said that I would have been able to get another 2 or 3 attacks there towards the end by having Watt dead earlier in the fight, you'd get no argument from me. I would do that all day. I cleaned that up with troopers after that, but that was just a dum-dum. Endurance, so dig this. I had Go to Brainiac set Endurance with, what do you call it, the Marauder ship up front. And I went in with Profundity, and I had Phantom 2 and Ghosts as reinforcements. I didn't have Biggs, and that was foolish of me. Because at the end of the fight, I wish I had Biggs just to be able to cover for Millennium Falcon. It ended up being Millennium Falcon and Marauder duking it out. I had the evasion up buff and everything. Didn't matter, man. I'll tell you what. Marauder just slapped his shit. So I cleaned it up with Radis, but it was a disappointing moment. And then I'd say that's about it for me. Everything else went pretty damn smooth this week. I had a pretty great week. Not a lot to complain about. Let's go back the way we came. Dagger, what do you got? What abandoned you? What failed you? What did you count on that gave you road rash?
Well, the other thing, because I'm now in front of my notes, this actually goes into after I got after the work once this week, so I was 1 for 3 on getting after the work.
Hey, you finally got it to work, though. I know you've been, like, vexed by that.
Yeah, wait till you hear this, though. R5 Boosh. It worked.
Yeah, you should, probably sink some more
Right?
relics.
I beat an R5 Boosh.
It's, yeah. Well, yep. That's a something right there.
Yeah. But, yeah, let's see. Obviously Fleet. Check this one out. I lost First Order versus Holdo.
Whoa, let's hear about it. What's the breakdown with that?
I big hit with crew twice on their raised Falcon, and without foresight, he dodged both times, and then Holdo.
Chosen by God to fall.
Twice I had to two-shot Levy, but before you get excited, the time I didn't two-shot it, I four-shot.
Oh my God, what a mess.
So, Fleet was not kind to me this week at all. I tried Wampa versus Iden. I didn't think I was going to win that one, but that was fun to watch my Wampa die in like 35 seconds. The defense into offense with against an R8 Iden with a Stormtrooper and Shore Trooper decked out in defense mods.
Man.
Got absolutely obliterated. But I had already won that once. That was more just science.
I believe that.
I didn't have a whole lot not work for me that I thought was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I will just echo what you said earlier about, JML. That JML counter, it's going away, and I'm very sad, but it's been super smooth for the last couple months. Just, dunking on your Leia just feels so good.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't matter the size. Like, if you run with the damage reduction level 6, you run the risk of them getting to take more turns than they otherwise would, and that can be dangerous. That turn meter gain and just being able to keep the pressure up and blowing Leia out, it feels pretty comfortable. Yeah, once you get into the practice of it, and yeah. Well, like the real trick is just being able to keep the turn cycle to JKR such that you never lose mark off of Leia. That's really the essence of making that counter work. And man, that you're right. The turn meter cron has just been buttery smooth about making that a snap. I know TJ's got a. Sorry, you had something to say?
Yeah, question on that one. Who are you adding in as a fifth for that? And on a related question, related note to it, like, do you see a meaningful difference on how comfortable it feels? And I guess it kind of comes down to whether it's successful or not. If the defending Datacron on Leia is high health versus high defense.
Yeah, I mean, Dagger brought this counter up, so I'll let him speak on it first.
Yeah, so you replace Hoda with Jolie because they what do you call it? They dispel your buffs, or your stealth. I'm sorry. So Hoda's just like extra squishy. I had a fight.
You bring a support in there.
Yeah. I mean, like, Joe Liege is just there as a safety valve, but like I had a fight with Hoda where they plugged Hoda, proc Savior, and still fucking killed Hoda. Yeah. Right? Like, granted, my Hoda's like R5 like a plebeian, but regardless, it just didn't feel sturdy enough. So when taking in Jolie, you just get that extra level of Jolie gets shot first, and I guess you might take the protection off him if you're lucky. Yeah. Right? You just get this, like, it's just such a huge safety valve between Savior and Jolie. And I've noticed that without Hoda, it's a little trickier to take out some of the higher health Leias. But I beat a 90% health Datacron.
Yeah, that's high.
And I think, and again, this counter's rotating, but I think this season, right, people have decided between, I don't want you to Inquisitor my team, or I don't want you to do this to my team, and that depends on what your stats on your Kron are for the most part. Mm-hmm. I fought a really high defense Kron this last round, it was like 230%, and JML's second efflux just blew out Chewbacca. Right? Like, I find very frequently that the sides just kind of naturally fall over as you work down Leia. And I find myself killing R2 more frequently than Drogon, so he stops stealthing people. Like I had the opportunity to kill Drogon or R2, and I preferred to kill R2 because I could kill Chewbacca to take the guard off Drogon whenever I pleased.
Mm-hmm. Good
So,
point. I
and we
know
can
a
talk
lot
more
of
about that
people
later.
have
I don't want
been.
to bog down this whole thing with this talk, so I'll just kind of.
No. I think that's a fair point because I know some people have been working themselves, in my opinion, into a pretzel over trying to force guard onto Drogon, and I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think
Not even close.
yeah. So no, all very fair points. Now I know that TJ has a lot he wanted to expand on, so I wanted to jump to Sasha next. What let you down this week, man? Let's hear about it.
Yeah, sure. So I'll keep pulling along the same thread actually. Like the Leia counters. I had an experience. I think it was the prior week on a high health Leia, which is why I asked that question, and particularly around the fifth member because of the JML squad in that counter, because Leia has that component of her basic that if she uses her basic against a character classified as support, she balances health with the least healthy other member of her team. But of course, if you're focusing down Leia, that least healthy other member is at 100%, and then she gets 20% health and protection. So my sort of PTSD around that JML counter is the experience I had a couple of weeks ago, where I'm like, all right, I've got Leia in the red, and then she just boinks with a basic Jolie, and suddenly she's back up to 100% health. And I'm like 2 minutes into the fight. And so that was a struggle for me. And that kind of took me back. That was like, I think the first time, maybe not the first time, but like one of the times where I felt least confident in the JML counter. So to that point, one of the things that I struggled with was getting to a point of comfort in tackling Leia. I had gotten there with the JMK counter, thinking that it required Padme, which was going to pull Gidme off, but it was, the full JMK squad. Felt good about it until I ran into a high defense Leia, and my entire defense strategy had been based around using JMK against the opponent's Leia, so I did not have the Jedi parts to sort of reassemble a JML counter. Had to take JMK against this 300% Leia. Failed with that. Failing with a Leia is, as you guys know well, particularly if you don't take anybody out in it, which I wasn't able to do, it totally screws with your planning. I think that Leia ate my JMK. I think I brought an SLK in that maybe I think that SLK was able to get 2 of the 5 off of the Leia squad out, and then I had to bring in a watered down JML to finish the 3 out. Essentially killing that gag. I went 2-1 on the week, but and the opponent played great. Like, so it wasn't just me throwing up there. The opponent with Weevil did really well. Mm-hmm. But point being, Leia was just this real nuisance in the back of my head, and that actually led to me pivoting in my match against TJ to holding Leia, thinking, boy, that's a clever move because I'm confident in a Leia versus Leia counter. And then my match against TJ, I worked through his front wall, doing whatever I could to make sure I held onto my Leia, so I was ready when I got to his Leia on the back wall. Bastard had no Leia. So, but that was one challenge. So Leia and coming to terms with that. Yeah, of course.
To adequately answer the question, I realized I didn't answer. Once you get to about 60% health on the Leia-cron, there starts to be RNG going after Leia first. So instead, what I've started doing is instead of leading with efflux, I do second on Chewbacca to give him daze. Mm-hmm. And then I pick off, and then I kind of poke at Leia to control her. And when people go under 50% turn meter, I just pick them off with coin. Mm-hmm. So I kill the sides first against the high health. That way you have like 3 minutes at the end to kill Leia.
Okay, so you're farming low turn meter targets. Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
While keeping days on Chewie so you don't get blown the fuck out.
Yeah, I hear you. The mastery moves on under Leia's kit, if you spend too much time targeting others and she has her, whatever, it's fearless, I can't remember what it is, but it starts screwing with the mastery so significantly that I get nervous about that. But you're right, if you can do that in a way where they're really vulnerable, if they're low TM and you're going to be able to take the sides out, that's a nice play on it. The next issue that I ran into, and I actually, I think TJ and Dagger were able to bear witness to this. Was, as I mentioned in my first segment, Malicos and repurposing him elsewhere. I'm like, wow, what a great tune. He does so much, and Seer's able to stand really well on her own. So I'm just going to let him go to LV. So I set him with LV a couple of times because I've encountered one. I did not have a smooth time dealing with this opponent, LV with Malicos. So I set that. It was a joke, apparently. And again, I didn't even see the battle, but TJ and Dagger can comment on it. And I think it kind of falls in the friends don't let friends category of they told me not to do it anymore.
I guess it's good against Phoenix because you can't crit. So I guess it has applications where it does kind of frustrate some counters, like cheaper counters, like Troopers and what do you call it? Troopers and Phoenix. But I'll just say in general, it doesn't feel very powerful if your opponent's going to come correct.
Yeah, yeah. And when I was reallocating Malicos, I guess it's good against Phoenix was not the standard of success I was searching for. So yeah, that didn't work.
No doubt.
Exactly. Actually, yeah, I think those are the core ones. Other notes I had are for later on in the conversations. Let's go to TJ and mine his rich vein of learnings here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, let's hear all about it, TJ. Lay bare your shame. Expose it to us.
You don't got time for all this. 4 score and 7 gags ago. The shit that don't work still don't work. All right, so let me look. This was the week where, man, I'm going to tell you,
I had such a good week the first week doing my strategy.
I knew it was going to happen going into the process of it, right? And then doing it this week, really awesome players. Karthik set some stuff I haven't seen in a while. This is going to be a setting of trick comps, old school things, and then also just making changes that you're just not paying attention and allows you to easily kill yourself. So I'll go with Karthik first because he did a lot of fun stuff that just threw off my entire game. I tried things, and then based on history I saw, and then that kind of left me wanting. So the first one I'll go with, my Star Killer failed against his Zori of all things, but not because of user error. That's because I overset, and because I overset, I couldn't take Visas, which means I didn't have Riposte, I didn't have the things I would want, against his 350% Datacron or something like that. It was really good. It was a really good Datacron for it's going to hold anything off that's not Star Killer or a proper Star Killer. And so when that didn't work, and it was a full back out, I couldn't kill anybody because I couldn't get the ball rolling. I had to take Night Sisters. Night Sisters did work, and I'll comment on that one, that's saying it is completely, you have to know the fight in and out of what's going on to play it correctly. But Night Sisters can still topple even the heaviest of Zoris if you know what you're doing. So that was one. But because I had to take Night Sisters on the Zori, what led up is him setting such a great defense that he set 6 GLs and Malicos on me in a full proper Malicos, like a tricky comp setup, and then put Jabba in the back.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
So doing what I was not expecting, like I scouted him well, and my defense did hold like it was supposed to. But I'll say I did Leia versus Leia mirror, and because I used pieces where they needed to go, I didn't have the right setup. That dropped. I couldn't kill his Jabba. To your point on the C, Karthik also set the trio with Savage on the C. I didn't take enough. Which is where I didn't make the same mistake with Sasha, but I didn't take enough. Because I didn't take enough, I got dropped before I could go to ult and kill anybody.
Yep.
So that was a full back out. So I got held on C because I didn't do enough. I couldn't kill the back wall, so I didn't even clear. It was just a bad setup, a bad choices made, and then his decision to put what he put really screwed me up. It was good. It was super impressive. Inquisitors, he set J&K with C3PO, and you 100% cannot. If that's on there, you don't Inquisitor that. That's just a fact. So it was great, but it's an old school trick comp people used to set.
No, that's
that
super smart because a lot of people have their
you
CLS
got
chop
it.
shopped right
You
now.
are not doing shit to that team when it comes to Inquisitors. You might as well
No,
just.
that's
I saw where
slick
his
right
one got
there.
good. Was awesome.
That's
Right?
a
I
good
didn't have
one
a
right
choice
there.
because I was defined to do Inquisitors on the JMK. I'd already aligned myself for this. I needed to test it, and then tough lesson learned. So it was like I said, this week was money for just what I was going to learn and
Dig
things I was
that.
seeing. What else? He set SLK, and normally I would have been just fine, right? I could have Inquisitor. I like the hindsight's there. I could have just Inquisitor his SLK. I could have done something else to the JMK, be it a mirror, and just finished it off. But yeah, it was. I had to take I killed one person. I killed his mace on his JMK team, and I had to take a full JMK team, and I almost lost that fight because they were just loaded. And then with the C3PO, Snips, and Cat, and having the setup, it was just it held so strong. What else? Week 2 against Caps was a great fight. My strategy worked in full fashion there, so it's like there wasn't really nothing learned. Sasha. Sasha's fight was great, and here's where it caught me. And it I don't want to say it changed anything I was gonna do, but it was such a minute thing I was not paying attention for it. So he set the standard Hera Phoenix team on me, and what I wasn't paying attention to was his modding setup. Basically, had it aligned to where he wants you to take Tuskens because you don't dot them. Because I couldn't dot them, I had to back out. It was a full back out, and I actually had to overkill it. As Sasha mentioned, we both kept Leia. I ended up having to use Leia on his team only because that's what I had left to take care of things. But it was still doing something like that, and you're not paying attention is such a great pull, and it's such a great idea, and that's what I've got faced with all week, which is like, yeah, it sucked that I went 1 and 2. But the things I learned and the pieces that are gonna be phenomenal. Well, I guess it's irrelevant. We'll talk about it. But for this next week, right? And that's the thing I want to comment on is, and we'll of course talk about that. But other pieces for Sasha that really caught me slipping, his Iden team, his one. If I had Savage, I took trio against his Iden team, thinking it was none the wiser is going to be a fight like that. That is not the case. Again, this is a good Datacron with the setup, but the way it was aligned, I actually had to take C on his. No, I had to overkill it. Yeah, I had to take C on his Iden, and I almost lost Iden off the rip, or right in the middle of the fight because there was so much damage being done, and the team was so thick. It was damn near killing the GL. And I'm not. I took an actual full proper squad just to make sure I wasn't going to get hemmed up, and I almost got hemmed up.
Wow.
That's how good the setup was.
So let me ask you this, and this is for all three. On that note, like when it comes to the Iden Troopercron, I know it's the buffs on 3, it's the defense converted to offense level 6, and then you the level 9 can be flexible. I think most folks are saying that the Scout Cron is the best one. Then it would be kind of Iden, then Storm, something like that.
So I'm going to say I want 2, and I'm going to say where I like this at.
Sure, let's hear that. 369 is one part of the question, then stats was the second part, so I want to circle back to that. But yeah, go ahead.
You stack the defense.
Yeah, but let's get to that in a second. Go on 369 real quick.
The offense is still the same. It doesn't change. It's still going to be the crit damage. It's going to be the offense up, etc.
Yeah.
It's still going to stack the defense. But here's what I like. I like Iden for that Kron, because if you look at the 9, she'll get to basically go again if anything happens. She's not going to die necessarily, but that ability for her to go again and really just numb you out, and you're not ready for a back-to-back from her.
Yeah,
she can basically kill you. Like I said, his Kron was properly set. It was super high defense on the secondary stat with the 400% level 6. So it was just glass cannon, and it just by Treya team. There was no way. It was just not going to do what it needed to do. Even with Savage,
I was shocked. I know you were surprised, and I was shocked too because I mean, Lord knows how many fights I finished with, that team all full health, full protection up. So
I didn't have Savage, so I'm gonna warrant this.
Yeah.
I didn't have some, but I don't.
Yeah.
I honestly believe with Sasha's modding and the way the defense was set up and the way it's gonna glass cannon you, I don't know if it would have mattered.
Which brings me. Yeah, go ahead.
If the opening segment would have popped the right person, so Aiden does her thing and then it goes off, you're dead. And he hit it. I'm telling you, I don't think Savage would have mattered. I don't know if it had a set in Savage, but either way, I will 100% respect that basically going in for the next one.
Mm-hmm. And so following in on that then, for that Eidenkron, what do you guys feel is the minimum level of defense to run on that Kron if you're inclined to set it on defense? Because I feel like I don't got the goods. See, that's the thing. I've got something like, unfortunately, I'm just chosen to not stack defense on this Kron. I've got something like 70% defense on this Kron, and I feel like you need to have a really strong minimum to make that have the kapow that TJ is speaking to.
I want to say that Sasha's is correct. Go look at Sasha's. Sasha, if I'm not mistaken, is 208%.
So not less than 200?
I definitely not less than 200. I know Dagger's point on a great optimal obviously is going to be like the 250 or something like that, but he was over 200% for sure, and I felt that squeeze. Yeah. So I would definitely think that's where you want to be for that, like chef kiss moment.
And it's not too late to invest in that crown, people. Right. That's going to be around for a while. Yeah. So if it's feasible and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg just to re-roll that out, it might be worth looking for because that is you heard it here. You heard it here from TJ. Yeah. He lost Treya and he damn near lost C. That can be forbidding.
Yeah. It was really proper, man. He did.
Well, remember, TJ also has non-6E mods on a lot of his characters, so you have to take that into account.
You disgust me, TJ.
C does not, though, asshole. So if we're talking the bullshit, let's also put the fact in that C is not the nothing burger. Thank you. But I will say the way Sasha set his board and the pieces were, it wasn't the team. It was paying attention to not only the Kron that was aligned with the team, this was very properly set. So the things that would normally work, a la the Tuscans into the Phoenix, like a Treya going into these pieces, it basically stole my resources to where I thought I might have had them, completely just blew me out. I wasn't prepared for the next steps. Those are what caught me. It wasn't the standard teams, and we talked about it at the beginning of the season. It was these other comps. I just wasn't ready for it, so I had to learn the hard way of taking this blind assumption that it just works. Because if you're not paying attention to everything, you're going to get caught, and I did.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Did you have any other notes you wanted to touch on here for things that let you down?
No, JMK was still perfectly fine. JML did fine. I will. The other ones were I'm gonna go on the user error side of things. Not paying attention, not making subtle mistakes.
Sure. Speak.
You shouldn't have timeout. So it's like it's sort of like doing Java on Malgus and then not paying attention to the what I'm doing. So spending too long on a specific character on a Malgus team, I ended up timing out with that.
I saw that. That was grody.
I don't call that the counter not working. I call that me not paying attention to what it's doing. And then the great thing about the Malgus team is you can spend too much time on the wrong character and that just eats up your counter. It was those types of things.
To be fair to yourself, though, TJ, I don't think you don't drop that unless you're streaming it with us. You were chatting with us and like all that. Like, I don't think you drop that if you're playing like focused. It's my gut.
And it's fair, but like I said, but that's I call that a user error thing, though. I don't want to call it like if you see the drop in the history, right? It's like, well, Java doesn't work. It's like that's not what it is, man. That was I spent too much time on a character, and yes, we were talking. But I still know enough that when we're going through the fight, talking or not, that after a while, it's like, just move and swap. Get to your ult as fast as possible, drop the next character and move on. I will tell you another one that really caught me by surprise, which is why I said it this week. Why I didn't have Savage. I ended up having to do, I think it was because I was keeping Leia this week. I actually kept Leia. And I did it for a reason and everything was going on. Having Savage on the Malgus team, and you're trying to take the old school Jedi and taking JKC, it eats up the counter. Because you're going to yeet one, so you're going to yeet off Malgus or whatever's going to happen. Now you have Savage. And what happens is, as you're fighting this fight with Bass lead or something like that, they start countering into one another, and it can actually lead to a timeout. We've seen it before. I think Dagger and Tass and I watched me happen to me, where it was on a Darth Revan team, and I tried to take JKC, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to get to my third. I could never go because JKC was countering into Savage, which was in turn making Savage go. So that loop I've actually timed out on, which is like, man, this is a great setup and not expensive. And because Treya is so strong, it was like, I can give up Savage, and then that just makes that, and it held for me too. It actually held for Caps and all that, and did its thing, and it just makes the Malgus team that much harder.
No, I believe that for sure. All right, guys. Personally, my favorite section, I want to dig into it here, is Standout Defenses. So I think all of us would be able to speak glowingly on the continued performance of our Leias. I did improve my Kron from week 1 to week 2. I had a prot up level 3 that I converted into the buffs level 3. I had some like prot and some random other whatever stats like crit damage on that Drogon Kron. It's straight up like, I want to say 230, 250% defense with something like 32% health on it. So I think the higher health you go, as Dagger and I think Sasha have already alluded to, the higher health you go, the more impedant that can be of JML, which seems to be the most, budget, not only, I mean, it's not budget friendly. You're using very expensive Jedi for it, to be sure. But it's, sorry?
It's the smoothest.
It is certainly the smoothest, yeah. I mean, I know people have been doing Mirror, and I personally haven't really bit down on that because I modded for a nasty Leia, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to set that on defense and make that someone else's problem. So I'll say, Leia, of course, continues to impress. I've had Rey hold for me a few times. I've had a round where I set only 3 GLs, and all 3 GLs, no, not all 3 GLs, but 2 out of 3 GLs held like multiple times. One of them couldn't even be cleared. That was Lord Vader. And by the way, it's like Lord Vader, Maul, Thrawn, Royal Guard, and then you can do Darth Vader if you have Darth Vader clock to be just after, just like one slower than Thrawn. So, it would be like Lord Vader crush, then Maul does middle, then Thrawn does, presumably fracture, and then Maul pops off. And then that 5th character, that can be Darth Vader, that's fine. But I really like Darth Vader with my Afra when I'm fighting Jabbas. Whatever, however you want to use your Darth Vader. But the point is like Ninth Sister modded such that her base speed times 1.25, because she'll have that speed up under Lord Vader at the start of battle. So her base speed times 1.25. If it's at least, if it's one less than Thrawn, then she'll be that last one to go. And when she gets around to that second turn, her first turn she does that middle, which does practically nothing. But her second turn she does the AoE daze. And if you've got her set up where she's got a decent amount of potency, that can really shut down not only Jedi, but also Phoenix. So I'll have to look at the data tomorrow on Swugga.gg. At the time of this recording, we just finished up week 2 today, so we don't have the data until tomorrow and about what went down. Well, I look forward to seeing what that was, but I expect that part of that involves a Phoenix just completely biting the dust on that.
Well, specifically, you want Ninth Sister to be fast. Her actual clocking in relation to Thrawn is less relevant. You just want her to be like 310, 320... 325 speed, so that way she's running at like 400 plus speed.
See, it's
Like,
funny you say
crispy.
that. It's funny you say that, but mine's just 275, which is effectively just one behind,
Yes.
just one behind my 344-ish Thrawn, and my intuition is that's perfectly enough.
Yes, but the point I'm trying to make is that if your goal is to shut off things that are going to go before Thrawn,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you're really saying when you're trying to beat Phoenix, is because the Phoenix team goes before Thrawn, right?
Hmm.
So if you're so her speed in relation to Thrawn isn't really relevant. It's her speed in relation to their Rex,
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you're trying to actually lock out Phoenix, that's the important number you're trying to hit, and that's why I said getting her up to 320-ish. So then she's like plus 1.25 puts her up to around 400 plus the 40 from Razor
Yeah,
Leader,
but
like
like her first, no
440.
matter how fast you make her, her first turn is doing dum dums with her middle. Like the second
No,
turn
no, no,
is
no, no,
the
no. You're missing my point. My
oh
point
shit.
is, Lord Vader goes, crushes, Maul does his AOE.
Yeah,
If your ninth sister
is the
beats their
next one
Rex,
right? Yeah.
one of the Phoenix characters is gone.
I got you. I see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see that. I can embrace that. That makes perfect sense. Like I said, I'm very interested to see in the data. All of this I am freely disclaiming as saying this is just my gut notion. So we'll see how
Yeah,
that turns out. But I just wanted to point out that, Leia, Rey, with the usual suspects, and Lord Vader continue to perform on defense. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tarful, Zalbar, Vandor, Hondo, and Clone Wars Chewbacca. Held out. We had an opponent use Star Killer, and they made the same error I did earlier. I think it was last week, where if you open up with second, yay, good job, you landed
everyone.
tenacity down on all the Wookiees. Now they have foresight, so now that Mara J can throw her third to land shock on everybody, none of those shocks are going to land. So good luck to you, right? So he had to fully withdraw on that, and we'll take the dub. But as much as it was with week one, so much of our defensive meta is defined by Leia, and that was no exception for me this week.
One of the interesting things about
Go,
Star
yeah,
Killer is one of the things I enjoy about Star Killers is one of the same things I enjoy about Afro. It's that their opening moves actually matter. And in most
true,
fights, when you're just punching baby seals, it doesn't matter.
true.
But people get so locked into the second and the third against Ray to dispel the pre-taunt and then land the shock, right? People get, or you just dispel the crit on Ray and then you land the shock and you take out the inspired. People get so locked in to that pattern, just like when Africrine came out. I see a lot of people leading with Afro's third. I'm not saying you shouldn't lead with Afro's third. I'm just saying there are times you lead with the second.
Yeah, certainly never against Jabba's, but I
Sure.
imagine a variety of other fights where that's not the case. Yes.
So basically what I'm saying is learn the kit. Remember what kits do when you're going into fights. Because I definitely lost long ago. I lost to a Zori team when that Kron was around because I led with second and then got blown out.
Yes.
When I could have just led with third and just won super easily.
Yes.
Oh,
We've all made that
I did
mistake.
that this week with
go.
TJ's Zori. It's the same thing. I just almost just sort of instinctive. I was just so accustomed to, oh yeah, I'll just go put tenacity down, and exactly what you're describing. You get blown out. The turn meter train begins, and you're on the wrong side of it.
Yeah.
Well, Sasha, since you piped right in there, I mean, I know we'll circle back to you there, but you wrapped up our last segment, so we'll go to Sasha on what were your standout defenses this week? What really bailed you out? What saved your bacon?
Yeah, I mean, a couple that are like additive to this conversation because we haven't gotten as much into it. But like one is, I really pleased with how SAW teams with the Rebel Datacron set are performing. And
Damage reduction?
Had this. What's that? Damage reduction. Exactly right. Damage reduction, defense. They get a decent amount of offense out of that level 3 as well. But I've said it and it's done fairly well for me, and that's with like Kara, Kyle Katarn, and then either a mixture. It's like Chirrut and Baze, and I realize giving a Kyle Katarn is going to cost you an ideal Mothma team. Giving a Baze
Yes.
can compromise your Rogue One squad. or it's often like a nice twist on a Leia squad. But it's nice to see that Che's combo have like some degree of relevance or do something worthwhile in GAC again.
Very fair.
Yeah, so they've held well for me, and like are cheap and often an afterthought. So they're good performers in that sort of 10th or 11th defense that you set. Then the next thing that I was going to add, I mean, we touched on it on a few different fronts, but it's just like, man, Traya is such a cool character. And the Traya combos, it's like, whether it is Traya herself with Savage and that solid comp, which you do want to do something creative there to keep Gidme off of it, and whether it's like protection modding and other
high
stuff,
prod on the cron or what have you,
Exactly. And even if you just force a 2-shot by getting creative enough with it, that's nice. But it's that combined with like the possibility that she gets slotted in with C and just makes things much more challenging. Like I faced a C Traya, a C plus triumvirate, and I can't remember who else was in there. Maybe it was a Malik or possibly Talon. I don't recall, but like I brought in a my Afra squad and was not able to take it down. Like it just I was able to get. I think I took Nihilus out, knowing that if I didn't take Nihilus out right away, Nihilus was going to like really quickly get his ult off. But yeah, Freya is just playing really well on D. Like she's either drawing a GL or making C as a GL very defensively viable. So those are the ones that I'd say stood out for me.
All right. Well, great input. I appreciate it. All right, let's hear from TJ. Standout defenses from you.
I think it's going to be the same one that most of us have right now. Ray, with the proper setup and adding GK, really held it down for me this week.
Is that with or without Cal for you this week?
This week with Cal, we'll see what we're gonna. I've got some ideas for what I want to do for week 3. But
did you run week 1 without Cal? I mean, do you have any input on the performance of Cal for you?
I said a weaker comp. I said a weaker comp, and Ray still did okay. But having the level 6 with the passing the debuffs, and then having GK as the disruptor for the tank, really did a great job. Really super strong. And the other one that actually got me the win against Caps, and he told me when he faced it, here with just the setup that Sasha talked about, doing ATF on the team, CLS as the unaligned, because again, part of the strategy. And then the other pieces actually got the hold. He tried Traya Savage and got blown out. And he said that was the first time it's ever failed for him. So it did the same thing it was supposed to do, but that's what I mean, right? So the things that did their defensive things they were supposed to do is a normal. The Ray, the Seer, because I set against what I need to do, I set much lighter this week, just for expectation of what's going to be next week.
Very good.
Oh, can I let me call one out on TJ's defense, because we got to actually watch that, and look, there was probably some user error on my part to this, but it kind of goes to the point of like how brutal these Seer squads could be. In our match, TJ and I both ended up holding Leia, and so with neither of us finding the other's Leia out there to mirror, we each had to figure out like what's a good use. And so I'm like, oh cool, get out of jail free card. And he said like the full bastard Seer Malicos. I say full bastard because with the added cool twist of using CLS, right? So he doesn't have didn't have the Cal Kestis, but with CLS instead, there like in many ways it's meaningfully more dangerous. You got defense down, you got like speed down, you got lots of turns running. So it was. I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll bring Leia in as a get out of jail free card. And granted, the team I used was not like the A+ squad. I did have Drogon, R2, but I brought Old Ben, and I'm like, okay, well, like, look, at this point, is this overkill? I don't know. I'll throw in, and I kind of looked, because I wanted to save my full CLS squad. That was part of my strategy in retaining Leia on offense, is I'll have a separate CLS squad, so I'm not going to do Toxic on offense. And I'm like, well, okay, well, hey, I've got an R7, like, well-modded Ezra. Why don't I put him to a little bit of use? And so I slot him in there, and that squad, like, you guys watched this battle, and like I just started. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. I guess I'll take out Malicos, and yeah, you have to spend a little bit of time on crew. I have to clear the buff or whatever, and then his Malicos. I don't know what I did to him, but he was clearly pissed. And he not only is he throwing rocks and like starting to just melt my squad, but I think Leia looked at him funny because he just starts tearing her up. And my Leia, I kid you not, with like a great prawn on it. I want to say it was like my 240% defense and 30% health cron, right? So Leia should be jacked. She was, I believe, in the red.
She was almost dead. One more hit on her, she would have died. Yeah. She was definitely one hit away. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, this is where that one mechanic, then when she finally got a turn, she has a mechanic in her basic where I'm like, okay, she's going to target Seer, hits a basic to Seer, and suddenly all is good in the world again, and she's back to like just about full health. But like, I mean, that I could have easily lost that battle, very easily lost. So that Seer squad, man, even with Leia, don't take it for granted.
All right. Very good. Very good. Yeah, sorry. We cut in on your time there, TJ. Did you have any other standout defenses you wanted to cover?
No, it was just to echo that. I forgot about that fight, but yeah, watching how bloody, like, we're not talking like it's damn near killing a GL. I would still call it, Ezra's a meh, but you still took the full proper. And for her to be almost gone like that was holy hell. Yeah, that was a pretty cool one to watch.
All right. Well, Dagger, how about you? Any standout defenses? Who held the line?
Yeah. So just to kind of speak on what they did first, really quick. TJ and I had like a 20-minute conversation about the Rebel like C team splits. So Cass gave me some crap about this, but I did place Diomi on Sant and just like didn't place him all week because like losing the Radis team and the Mon Mothma team were both more valuable for me this week at least. So that's the real push-pull with that team is you have to give one of those teams up. So when you're doing your planning, you have to decide which teams you're going to use. And to that, man, I saved gas, which is usually one of my standout defenses most of the time, the first 2 rounds, and then the third round I place gas, and he immediately gets me 4 holds. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I ever saved you. Steer got me a couple holds. So it's that Malicos special that really prohibits Freya. At least if you don't have enough like bulk on your datacron.
Now, when you say Malicos special, is that an Omicron powered?
Yes. Yeah, the Omicron special.
Very good.
I have noticed that I can Treya any Malicos that only has the uniques. Any one of them. Bring on your biggest and baddest Malicos. I'm Treying that bitch.
Yeah.
You have that special, we're just going to C7 it.
Yes, that has definitely been something reliable for me. I don't mess around with the Seer Malicos as you stated it. I will do the exact same counter, so very fair. What else you got?
And then Malgus continues to hold at a reasonable rate.
Nice.
You put him in front of Fleet these days, and then you put him right next to like Seer, and then they have to decide what they're going to do. I'm curious to look at the history because I've definitely somebody like TJ pointed out, somebody failed with their Jedi, their Cal versus Malgus against me. Presumably they timed out. But yeah, it's really weird that Malgus continues to be good on defense, and I think that's mostly because of the JML versus Leia thing. I think his value will plummet after this JML round rotates. And then, of course, Jabba continues to do the Lord's work on my defense on that front wall. So many people keep... Do you remember when people... I talked with TJ about this earlier. It's like, do you remember when people used to say bounty hunters beat Lord Vader, and then you go look at the history, and it's not above 30%? And then you go look at Insight, and it's actually like 12%?
Yeah.
Right? That's how this Night Sister thing is versus Jabba. And I keep coming across these people who continue to try it and continue to just have to two-shot my Jabba. And some of them don't even kill the whole team. Like, I've had Night Sisters with full backouts because, they're not dialed in or whatever. I guess what I'm saying is, friends don't, what was that earlier? Friends don't let friends use Night Sisters versus Jabba?
Yes. Yeah, it's just, it fits into the box of the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like, the upshot that you might be able to clear out, like, your best outcome, your best, like, outcome that you could reliably expect would be to kill 4. I mean, it's very rare that nowadays you could kill all 5, but like, that's like your best outcome is to kill 4. So you're going into that expecting a 2-shot, and I think anybody that expects better, just absolute madness, and then it, like, you're just what you're saying. You're encountering opponents that are not adequately planning for needing to do that 2-shot, but still having more banners than you at the end of the fight. So. Fair point.
Yeah, and then of course the thing I keep talking about that's just I can't believe it keeps holding, and it's not because I'm where I'm at in GAC. We had the same conversation when I was in the top 20, and Qui-Gon got 5 holds in that week. Qui-Gon continues to get holds, and it's not even good. Well, it's just Qui-Gon, Cam, JKA, Kit Fisto, Plo.
Hey man, I'm so glad to hear that because I know. I mean, I'm glad he's doing good stuff for you this month because I know in previous months you've been disappointed with the lack of performance. So I'm glad you're getting value.
Yeah, the damage reduction cron continues to just. Oh man, people got to be hopping mad when I've seen those fails too because it's not like they're like, oh, we killed Qui-Gon and we can clean up. No. This is 3 of them are in the yellow, and everyone's still alive. Right.
Dang.
like you're gonna go back in and get your bell rung again.
Fair.
Because now it's preloaded. Yeah, I have been disappointed in previous months with it, insofar as we didn't have good Bad Batch skewers. Which is one of the cleaner counters to Qui-Gon's still. And I think right now with the Jedi Crons, it's just a unique space. That being said, man, it's like Sasha said, it's right there alongside Saw, where it's defense number 10 or 11 that you set. Right? And it's not the team that I'm like, oh my god, I'm so pumped to set this team. It's I could get 53 banners with this or 58 banners with this on offense, or I can make it my opponent's problem.
Very good. All right, well, let's turn to the wrap up, guys, because we're just over an hour here. So let's throw in our final comments here to the folks. I mean, for my part, I would say that JMK on offense without GK has proven to be just fine this season. It did great for me in the latter part of last week. It's done great for me all of this week. I was able to get by with Jedi Knight Guardian, JKG, for 2 out of 3 rounds. And the one round where I wanted to do JMK versus Array with a Zori, I took along Mace instead of Jedi Knight Guardian, so I could have Zori exposed at the right moment and execute her. And then just remarking again about Leia on defense is that if you're thinking about doing Leia mirrors, it behooves you to be the bulkier Leia. That is continuing to prove to be the case. I had an opponent had their fight hinge on whether or not they could clear my Leia with a Leia mirror, and when it didn't pan out, that was the fight. That was it right there. So don't get caught out on that note. Sasha, final comment.
I would just say, for everything we've gone through as observations and learnings from last week, I think there's a lot of really cool insight there. Our world is going to just be really shaken up going into this next week. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I kind of go back to my opening comment of I feel like the game's in a pretty good place in terms of maintaining freshness, because with the new set of datacrons coming out, with the introduction of some new characters, all of this, are, like everything we've covered, really good learnings. And there's just going to be a bunch that's still unknown going into next week, or that could at least shake it up in a way that prevents it feeling too stale. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Completely fair. All right, TJ, your final thoughts?
I'll let Dagger go on this one because it's kind of a soapbox I'm going to go on.
Oh, okay, all right. All
let me
right,
let Dagger do this one.
hot potato over to Dagger. Let's hear it.
Okay. Yeah, normally I'm going with the soapbox in this segment, so I'm glad you got yourself one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Get nice and squeaky clean when you get on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just kind of echo what Sasha said. Prepare your anus because, man, this Jabba and this Africron are coming for your butthole, and they don't plan to bring their own lube. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
know what I mean.
And we know what this Africron does. This is a known quantity. They have started recycling stuff. Not that that's bad, right? I'm just saying, like, now what does Tass? How does Tass phrase that? It's like, oh boy, she's a coming, right?
That's right.
Oh lordy, you can hear her coming. Man, it's going to be an interesting week, and I'm a little nervous about being like near the top 50 with this because looking at all the opponents, it's like,
yep,
yeah, they all got this stuff already, and it's going to be an uphill battle being a has-not.
Understood. I mean, Sasha and I are very likely in the same bracket next week, I think.
Yeah, and I hope you both lose. I hope you both go 0-3.
Dang, it's hateful.
Wow, that would be a major accomplishment if we could be in the same bracket and both go 0-3.
I agree,
Yeah,
man.
so
We both must have really taken it.
Hashtag math. I like hashtag math.
No, it's really easy. The trick is you both go 0-2, and then neither one of you play your last round.
Brilliant. Very good. All right, TJ.
But honestly, just over prepare. Just over prepare for this next
yes, that is the case. If you're fighting opponents that are rocking the set 12 crowns, be over prepared for sure, because otherwise you're looking at getting space jammed.
Yeah, and then that's basically where I was heading with that. So yeah, I'll let TJ.
All right, we got your milk crates stacked up, TJ. Get up on top. Let's hear it.
All right, so normally I'm a supporter. Obviously, none of us liked when Datacrons came out, right? It was an unknown. The way they did it was poor. It's piss poor, dude. How CG did it. Eventually, it came around to where they became a good piece of the game, right? Again, Sasha and I talked about it before, and one of the things that brought Sasha back was Datacrons. They were new and exciting ways to play the game. They did things that everybody was like. Now it's really good, right? They build on stats that aren't in mods, and they do different things that are unique, and it's not giving it to GLs. So I was all for it. This is where we separate the line, and Dagger had to talk about this, and where I am not happy with what CG did, taking this new set and throwing it into a week 3 of GAC while we still have another set to go, and then basically saying, here, if you buy, you win. I'm all for what they pay to play advantage, right? I've went and got a couple of them. I've done it. I do not agree with CG the way they did this set now.
And I support you there, and I think some folks out there in the community would say,
I have to call it out, right? Dagger's like, I can't do anything about this. I just lose. And it's like having players who want obviously there's fear of missing out. We have the whole sentiment. This to me is something where they've made good decisions. I think this one was poor. And my concern and why I'm standing on the soapbox is, my concern is this is, I don't think a test. I think this is the new standard, is because obviously CG is a business. They need to be able to make an income. And a quick fix is just say, we'll just bring it out earlier. Well, doing something like that, where we've been fighting and doing things like that. Now, obviously, it was coming out for the next season, and we all get used to it.
Yeah, we'll all have a reasonable chance at having something together.
But doing it this way and putting us in a position where if we want to competently, fight one another, you have to have these pieces. Otherwise, you're at a tactical disadvantage.
And I just want to say real quick on that, I completely agree with you. And I think some folks in the community would say, well, I mean, sure, it's something, it's not better for them to have Datacrons that you don't, but that's not an insurmountable advantage. And I just want to point out that at this neck of the woods, having even one or two other choices you can make can just open up just an easy avenue to do a full clear and leave your opponent just struggling. Right. So it is a huge difference.
And really quick, just add a very quick snippet to this.
Yeah.
It's not just that this is a week early. It's not just that this feels dangerous if it becomes the norm.
Cash grabbing.
It's that
Yeah.
it's that they didn't release it with the calendars. They didn't release it with any of that stuff to give. If you just they just give me one cron, that would have saved me like 800 crystals. Right? Like it's prohibitively expensive to roll these crons from scratch. To go to that store and buy
prior
them.
to
If you
their
don't have the
first
Shark Shop
conquest.
currency,
Yeah.
if you don't have the Shark Shop currency or you don't have the ally points, which I don't have either of those because I was busy doing other stuff with my roster. So I had to spend crystals on the crons because my guild has a big TW coming up. So we required getting a couple of these crons or at least one of these crons for that upcoming war. It just feels so dirty because they didn't get like, if you're going to do this, please just release that $15 starter pack and the free calendar.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just feels so dirty to just be like, all right, guys, you have to buy everything from scratch. Every cron costs a ball. Go.
Yeah, I think we've all pretty well covered that. I don't think they've done it exactly like this before, and I think TJ's right that this could easily be a new norm because there's a strong financial, incentive for them to release something like this with this limited availability, and they can justify it as not being unfair by saying it's only 1 week for a season where this, this purely pay-to-win advantage exists. But if it becomes the norm, man, that really is going to box out even more people from competing in the top ranks because you're all right. I mean, it completely matters. So very fair point, TJ.
I just want to. So I'm going to close out real quick. So hold on.
Yeah.
Let me
One more
stand
thing
on my
to say if you're done.
soapbox. I appreciate you
I have
guys.
one more thing to
letting
say when you're
compare
done.
me. So, but I'm okay with tactical decisions to be a company. What I'm not okay with is this is, and I'll say for most, right? I'm not saying I didn't buy. I'm not saying that C's not going to do the decisions. What I'm saying is I do like some kind of equal footing and doing something of a mechanic where it's just here, let's make it earlier, and doing something along those lines. It's just, it doesn't feel like a fair fight for some people who have, all right, we've gotten to this point. People are coming up to the point of liking datacrons or whatever doing, but then you do this, to me, it felt very snake-like. So I disagree wholeheartedly with the way it's being done. Trying to throw out 3 different sets at the same time and then pushing this, if you don't have it, you are at a severe disadvantage. Just do not agree. I'll leave it there with that.
Very good. Dagger, you had something to throw in.
Yeah, CG knows how competitive TW is at the top. They've acknowledged that. They've had conversations with some of the TW leads and guild leaders at the top about TW in the gauntlet. And just like the volleyball spike home that just feels like complete dog shit is that all 4 of us are in guilds that have big wars coming up this week. So it's like the moment these crons got released, it's like you need these crons for this war. There is no room for I don't want to do it or I can't afford it. It's you need them, right? The call came down. It is mandatory. And I know that the guilds don't like to say, and I know that the top guilds don't like to do, you have to spend, you have to do this, you have to do that. But man, having these, that's why this scares me, is because this feels an awful lot like mandated spending requirements every 4 months.
If this becomes the new norm, it would certainly seem to be the case. Yeah, because if the crons that they're going to release in this off week like this are going to have that kind of an impact on the meta as what we expect this new set's going to do, I agree. That sets a really uncomfortable precedent. So, very fair point. All right, well, guys, I always appreciate the hell out of you making time on your very busy schedules away from your families to spend here more than an hour grousing about a phone video game. But I just want to thank you all so much for making the time to be here with me. And, of course, thank you to all of our audience here out on YouTube watching us. For my patrons, this will be available immediately tomorrow morning. And for our general YouTube subscriber base, this will be available on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. It's been an amazing week, too. I'm looking forward to the madness and chaos here of week 3. I'm hoping to go 1-2 myself, and we'll see how nasty 3 versus 3 is going to end up looking. But it's been a fun one. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.
I do think it's funny how you're thanking us for making time when this is literally an escape from the family.
Good. Good.
So I think your family doesn't watch this then.
No, they sure don't.
Yeah.